In previous lessons, we explored 3 special letters in Arabic: Alif, Waw, and Ya. These letters are part of the 28-letter Arabic alphabet, but what makes them truly unique is that they don't just serve one function in a word. They have 3 important roles. In this lesson, we are bringing everything together to understand how Alif, Waw, and Ya function in different positions within words. To see the whole picture clearly, we need to recognize that these 3 special letters do more than just exist in the Arabic alphabet. They play essential roles in shaping pronunciation and meaning. Their multiple functions make them stand out in the Arabic language. The 3 roles are: first, they act as long vowels extending short vowel sounds. Second, they function as consonants, each with a distinct sound. Third, they serve as carriers for Hamza, providing a stable position when needed. Think of them as language transformers, switching between roles to shape pronunciation and meaning in Arabic. Let's dive in and uncover their full potential. Now let's start with the first function of these special letters acting as long vowels. When Alif, Waw, and Ya do not have a short vowel mark, fatha, damme, or kasra, this means they are not consonants and do not produce their own separate sound. Instead, they function as long vowels, meaning their only role is to extend the short vowel sound of the letter before them. And when they carry Hamza, they are not functioning as consonants or long vowels. Instead, they simply serve as a seat for Hamza without producing their own independent sound. Let's begin with Alif as a long vowel. Remember, Alif is a long vowel when it comes after a letter with a short fatha vowel. It stretches the short a sound into a long a sound. Therefore, Alif must follow a letter with a short fatha vowel to work as a long vowel. Before we look at examples, let's first review a fundamental rule about Arabic letters and vowel sounds, which you have learned before. All Arabic letters originally have a still consonant sound before any vowels are added. For example, the letter Mim has the original sound M. The letter Lam has the original sound L. The letter Jim has the original sound J. To achieve full pronunciation, every letter must be accompanied by a short vowel, fatha, damme, or kasra. Without a vowel, the letter remains in its still form, such as M, L, J. As a reminder, the sukun symbol, which looks like a small circle on top of a letter, represents stillness, indicating that the letter has no vowel sound. However, in most cases, sukun is not written, unless it's necessary to clarify pronunciation. If a short vowel is followed by a long vowel, it extends the sound of the letter, making it longer in pronunciation. For example, the letter Mim with short and long vowels. With a short fatha vowel, it sounds Ma. With a long vowel Alif, it becomes Ma, resulting in a long A sound. With a short damme vowel, it sounds Mu. With a long vowel Waw, it becomes Mu, resulting in a long U sound. With a short kasra vowel, it sounds Mi. With a long vowel Ya, it becomes Mi, resulting in a long E sound. Now let's look at some examples to see how this works in words. First example, the word kitab. In the word kitab, meaning book, the letter ta has a fatha vowel, which gives it a short a sound, pronounced as ta. Since the long vowel alif comes immediately after ta, it stretches the short a sound into a long a sound. Instead of pronouncing it as ta, the presence of alif makes it ta. As a result, the correct pronunciation of the word is kitab, kitab. Second example, the word salam. In the word salam, meaning peace, the letter lam has a fatha vowel, which gives it a short a sound, pronounced as la. Since the long vowel alif comes immediately after la, it stretches the short a sound into a long a sound. Instead of pronouncing it as la, the presence of alif makes it la. As a result, the correct pronunciation of the word is salam, salam. Third example, the word ta'am. In the word ta'am, meaning food, the letter ayn has a fatha vowel, which gives it a short a sound, pronounced as a. Since the long vowel alif comes immediately after a, it stretches the short a sound into a long a sound. Instead of pronouncing it as a, the presence of alif makes it a. As a result, the correct pronunciation of the word is ta'am, ta'am. Remember, the letter ayn is one of the 9 deep letters in Arabic, pronounced from the middle of the throat. It has no exact equivalent in English, making it unique to Arabic pronunciation. To pronounce the letter ayn with a fatha vowel, open your throat slightly and produce a voice sound from the middle of your throat, as in a, a. It may feel like a deep tightened sound that comes from the throat. Since ayn is a deep letter, it requires extra effort to pronounce it correctly, but with practice it becomes more natural. Fourth example, the word jamal. In the word jamal, meaning beauty, the letter mim has a fatha vowel, which gives it a short a sound, pronounced as ma. Since the long vowel alif comes immediately after ma, it stretches the short a sound into a long a sound. Instead of pronouncing it as ma, the presence of alif makes it ma. As a result, the correct pronunciation of the word is jamal, jamal. In all the example words, alif functions as a long vowel with the sound of a. It stretches the short vowel a sound from the letter before it into a long a sound. This is a key pattern in Arabic pronunciation and spelling. It is important to understand that most Arabic words contain moving letters with vowels, but sukoon is also common in certain patterns. Words like milh, salt, shams, sun, waqt, time, and bard, cold, have sukoon in the middle affecting pronunciation. Without vowels, a letter remains still and cannot carry a full sound on its own, though it may still connect to other letters. Short vowels help letters flow smoothly, while long vowels extend sounds, making words clear and natural to pronounce. Understanding this is essential for reading and pronouncing Arabic words correctly. Now that we have seen how alif functions as a long vowel, let's move on to waw and how it stretches the short oo sound into a long oo sound. Remember, the letter waw functions as a long vowel when it comes after a letter with a short damme vowel. This stretches the short oo sound into a long oo sound, like in the word nur, meaning light. Therefore, for wow to act as a long vowel, it must be directly preceded by a letter with a short damme vowel. Without this, it will not function as a long vowel. Let's look at some examples of wow as a long vowel and see how it stretches the short oo sound into a long oo in different words. First example, the word nur. In the word nur, meaning light, the letter nun has a damme vowel, which gives it a short oo sound, pronounced as nu. Since the long vowel wow comes immediately after nu, it stretches the short oo sound into a long oo sound. Instead of pronouncing it as nu, the presence of wow makes it nu. As a result, the correct pronunciation of the word is nur, nur. Second example, the word durus. In the word durus, meaning lessons, the letter ra has a damme vowel, which gives it a short oo sound, pronounced as ru. Since the long vowel wow comes immediately after ru, it stretches the short oo sound into a long oo sound. Instead of pronouncing it as ru, the presence of wow makes it ru. As a result, the correct pronunciation of the word is durus, durus. Third example, the word طيور. In the word طيور, meaning birds, the letter ya has a damme vowel, which gives it a short oo sound, pronounced as you. Since the long vowel wow comes immediately after you, it stretches the short oo sound into a long oo sound. Instead of pronouncing it as you, the presence of wow makes it you. As a result, the correct pronunciation of the word is طيور, طيور. Fourth example, the word صورة. In the word صورة, meaning picture, the letter sad has a damme vowel, which gives it a short oo sound, pronounced as su. Since the long vowel wow comes immediately after su, it stretches the short oo sound into a long oo sound. Instead of pronouncing it as su, the presence of wow makes it su. As a result, the correct pronunciation of the word is صورة, صورة. In all these words, wow does not represent its own sound with a short vowel. Instead, it functions as a long vowel, stretching the short oo sound from the preceding letter, which has damme vowel, into a long oo sound. This follows the same pattern we saw with Alif as a long vowel. Now that we have seen how Alif and Waw function as long vowels, let's move on to the third special letter, Ya, and how it stretches the short E sound into a long E sound. Remember, Ya is a long vowel when it comes after a letter with a short kasra vowel. It stretches the short E sound into a long E sound. Therefore, Ya must follow a letter with a short kasra vowel to work as a long vowel. Let's look at some examples of Ya as a long vowel and see how it stretches the short E sound into a long E in different words. First example, the word طويل. In the word طويل, meaning tall, the letter Waw has a kasra vowel, which gives it a short E sound, pronounced as we. Since the long vowel Ya comes immediately after we, it stretches the short E sound into a long E sound. Instead of pronouncing it as we, the presence of ya makes it we. As a result, the correct pronunciation of the word is طويل, طويل. Second example, the word كبير. In the word كبير, meaning big, the letter ba has a kasra vowel, which gives it a short E sound, pronounced as B. Since the long vowel ya comes immediately after B, it stretches the short E sound into a long E sound. Instead of pronouncing it as B, the presence of ya makes it B. As a result, the correct pronunciation of the word is كبير, كبير. Third example, the word حقيقة. In the word حقيقة, meaning truth, the letter قاف has a kasra vowel, which gives it a short E sound, pronounced as قي. Since the long vowel ya comes immediately after قي, it stretches the short E sound into a long E sound. Instead of pronouncing it as قي, the presence of ya makes it قي. As a result, the correct pronunciation of the word is حقيقة, حقيقة. Fourth example, the word نعيم. In the word نعيم, meaning blessing or comfort, the letter عين has a kasra vowel, which gives it a short E sound, pronounced as عي. Since the long vowel ya comes immediately after عي, it stretches the short E sound into a long E sound. Instead of pronouncing it as عي, the presence of ya makes it عي. As a result, the correct pronunciation of the word is نعيم, نعيم. In all these words, ya does not represent its own sound with a short vowel. Instead, it functions as a long vowel, stretching the short E sound from the preceding letter, which has kasra vowel, into a long E sound. This follows the same pattern we saw with Alif and Waw as long vowels. Now that we have seen how these three special letters function as long vowels, let's review an important point before moving on to their second function, acting as consonants. When these letters carry a short vowel, fatha, damme, or kasra, they stop being long vowels and act as consonants, making their own sounds. As consonants, they can also remain in their still sound, holding their original pronunciation without any added vowel. This still sound, marked by sukun, appears in the middle or at the end of a word, but never at the beginning. Quick reminder, consonant is a letter in Arabic that has an original sound when pronounced without a vowel. It doesn't carry a vowel. For example, mim makes the sound m, lam makes the sound l, sin makes the sound s, and noon makes the sound n. Sukun is a mark placed above a consonant to show that there is no vowel on it. When a consonant has sukun, it means that the consonant keeps its original sound without a vowel. The sukun looks like a small circle above the letter and represents stillness, indicating that there is no vowel on the consonant. Now let's look at how the letters Alif, Hamza, Waw, and Ya act as consonant with different vowels and sukun. Let's begin with Alif Hamza as a consonant. Alif Hamza produces a glottal stop sound. When it has a fatha, it makes the sound a. With Dhamme, it makes the sound U, and with Kasra, it makes the sound I. The glottal stop sound changes depending on the short vowel attached to it. So Alif Hamza can produce the sounds A, U, or I. Keep in mind, a glottal stop is a brief pause or catch in the throat, where airflow is briefly blocked. In Arabic, it's produced when Alif Hamza is used as a consonant, creating a slight cut-off sound before the vowel. Please remember, Alif is referred to as Alif Hamza when it has Hamza on top of it, acting as a consonant or carrier for the Hamza. When Alif is used as a long vowel, producing the A sound, it drops the Hamza and is simply called Alif. Keep in mind that Alif cannot have Hamza on top when functioning as a long vowel. Now let's look at some examples of Alif Hamza in different positions within words. First, let's see how Alif Hamza works at the beginning of words. When it's at the start of a word, Alif Hamza makes a glottal stop sound, which changes depending on the vowel it has. It can produce the sounds A, U, or I, based on the vowel it carries. First example, the noun Ab, meaning father, start with Alif Hamza and a Fatha vowel, making the sound A at the beginning of Ab, A, Ab. The noun meaning mother, start with Alif Hamza and a Dhamme vowel, making the sound U at the beginning of U, The noun Ibn, meaning son, start with Alif Hamza and a Kasra vowel, making the sound I at the beginning of Ibn, Ibn. In these words, Alif Hamza start the word with a glottal stop sound, influenced by the vowel it has, A, U, and I. Now when Alif Hamza appears in the middle of words like Fa's, meaning axe, Ra's, meaning head, and Fa'ra, meaning mouse, it often carries a sukun. In these examples, the sukun is placed above the Alif Hamza to show that the glottal stop sound remains still in its original form, unaffected by any vowel. The sound of Ra's, Fa's, and Fa'ra demonstrates this clearly. There is a brief pause or short stop in the airflow in the middle of the word, creating a distinct, clear consonant sound of the glottal stop. The glottal stop remains still without any vowel influencing it. Remember, the sukun is a small circle placed above the consonant to indicate that the consonant sound remains in its original form, unaffected by a vowel. The sukun is not often written, and is typically used in formal writing and for teaching purposes, such as in the Quran. However, once you become familiar with the patterns of Arabic words, you will recognize when it's implied, even without the sukun being directly written. Now let's look at how Alif Hamza functions as a consonant at the end of words. In these examples, Alif Hamza carries a Fatha vowel, which helps the glottal stop reach its full sound, producing the A sound. For example, in words like qara'a, meaning he read, mala'a, meaning he filled, bada'a, meaning he started. The fatha vowel allows the glottal stop to complete the pronunciation, giving the word a clear, distinct ending with the a sound. Please keep in mind that in Arabic, the subject of the verb is part of the verb itself. All tenses and grammar related to the subject of the verb will be explained in future lessons. Let's continue. At the end of words, it's common to see a sukoon on Alif Hamza in command verbs in Arabic, as well as in the middle of words. This means Hamza is pronounced without any vowel sound, creating a quick stop in the throat. For example, اقرأ, اقرأ, meaning read. ابدأ, ابدأ, meaning start. And املأ, املأ, meaning fill. The sukoon on top of Alif Hamza marks this stop. This stop gives the word a sharp, clear ending, making the command sound firm and direct. Please note, the rules of command verbs and other verb forms will be explained in detail in future lessons. Now that we understand how Alif Hamza works as a consonant, let's look at the second special letter in Arabic, waw as a consonant. Waw functions as a consonant when it carries a short vowel, producing the wa sound, like the W in what. Depending on the short vowel it has, the sound can slightly vary. At the beginning of words, waw start with this wa sound as a consonant, connecting smoothly to the following letters. With a fatha, it sounds like wa. For example, waraqa, waraqa, meaning paper. With a dhammeh, it sounds like wu. Example, wuduh, wuduh, meaning clarity. With a kasra, it sounds like wi. Example, wilaya, wilaya, meaning state. The letter waw can still function as a consonant when it has a still sound and carries a sukoon, meaning it is pronounced without any vowel sound. This is common in the middle of words. When waw carries a sukoon, it holds its original u sound without adding any vowel. This gives the word a steady, clear pronunciation in the middle. For example, dawla, dawla, meaning state. daw, daw, meaning light. Sawt, sawt, meaning voice. At the end of words, waw as a consonant can appear with one of the three short vowels or with a sukoon. When it has a sukoon, waw keeps its original oo sound without adding any vowel, giving the word a sharp ending. Example with sukoon, law, law, meaning if. This particle is used to talk about things that could happen but probably won't. Having waw with sukoon at the end of words is quite rare in Arabic. Now let's look at some examples to see how waw functions as a consonant at the end of words with the three short vowels, depending on the grammatical rule of the noun. To better understand this, let's explore a few examples that highlight these variations. First example with fatha vowel. أحب جو الصباح. أحب جو الصباح, meaning I love the morning atmosphere. Here, جو is functioning as the object of the verb أحب, I love. Second example with ضم vowel. جو الصباح جميل. جو الصباح جميل. The morning atmosphere is beautiful. Here, جو is functioning as the subject of the sentence. Third example with كسر vowel. أستمتع بجو الصباح. أستمتع بجو الصباحي. I enjoy the morning atmosphere. Here, جوي is functioning in an إضافة possessive construction. Note: these grammatical rules, including the use of short vowels in the nominative, accusative, and genitive cases, will be explained in future lessons, focusing on how these variations affect the function and role of nouns in Arabic sentence structure. After we have explored Alif, Hamza, and Waw, the last special letter we will discuss when it functions as a consonant is Ya. Just like the other special letters, Ya has its own unique behavior and plays an important role in the structure of words. Let's look at how Ya functions as a consonant and how it changes depending on its position in the word, helping to shape the sound and flow of Arabic. When Ya functions as a consonant, it can carry a short vowel, making the sounds Ya, You, or Yi, depending on the vowel used. Ya can also remain with a sukun, in which case it keeps its E sound without any vowel, giving it a sharp still sound at the end of words. Let's break it down and see how Ya behaves in different positions within words. When Ya appears at the beginning of a word, it produces a clear Ya, You, or Yi sound, depending on the vowel. For example, with fatha vowel, Ya, Yad, Yad, meaning hand. With dhamma vowel, You, Yurid, Yurid, meaning he wants. In both of these examples, you can clearly hear the Ya sound as the words start with Ya. When Ya appears in the middle of a word as a consonant, it can carry any of the three short vowels, producing different sounds depending on the vowel. For example, with fatha vowel, غير, غير, he changed. With dhamma vowel, سيوف, سيوف, meaning swords. Here, the dhamma vowel is extended with the long vowel waw, producing a U sound. With kasra vowel, متحير, متحير, meaning confused. It is also common for Ya to appear with sukun in the middle of words, where it functions as a consonant and gives a still sound, like in these words, عين, عين, meaning eye, بين, بين, meaning between, دين, دين, meaning debt. In these cases, Ya maintains its consonant sound without a vowel, creating a sharp and still sound. When Ya is at the end of a word, it can sound like Ya, You, or Yi, depending on the vowel. This changes how it sounds, just like Waw and Hamza. Each letter behaves differently depending on the vowel. Here's how it works. First example with fatha vowel. ريا البستاني, ريا البستاني, meaning watering the garden. This phrase consists of two nouns in an إضافة structure. Here, ريا is in the accusative case, منصوب in Arabic, with fatha as a sign, as the object of an implied verb. البستاني is in the genitive case, مجرور in Arabic, with kasra as a sign, following the first noun in the إضافة structure, meaning the watering of the garden. Please note, the إضافة structure is a possessive construction in Arabic that links two nouns together, where the first noun defines what is possessed and the second noun specifies who or what possesses it. This structure is an essential part of nominal sentences in Arabic. In Arabic, sentences are classified into two types: nominal sentences, sentences that start with a noun; Verbal sentences, sentences that start with a verb. Since Raya al-Bustan begins with a noun, it is part of a nominal structure. All the grammar rules related to nominal and verbal sentences will be explained in more detail in future lessons. Second example with ضم vowel. Rayu al-Bustani, Rayu al-Bustani, also meaning watering the garden. This phrase consists of two nouns in an إضافة structure. Here, Rayu is in the nominative case, مرفوع in Arabic, with ضمة as a sign, as the subject of an implied verb. Al-Bustani is in the genitive case, مجرور in Arabic, which means following the first noun in the إضافة structure, and is marked with kasra as a sign, meaning the watering of the garden. Third example with kasra vowel. Rayi al-Bustani, Rayi al-Bustani, meaning watering the garden. This phrase consists of two nouns in an إضافة structure. Rayi is in the genitive case, مجرور in Arabic, with kasra as a sign. Here, the first noun functions as a verbal noun, masdar, which means source in Arabic. It takes the genitive case because it is affected by an implied preposition, which gives the phrase the meaning of the act of watering the garden. But it is still part of a nominal sentence since it begins with a noun. Al-Bustani is also in the genitive case, مجرور in Arabic, with kasra as a sign, as it follows the first noun in the إضافة structure, meaning the watering of the garden. Please note, in addition to grammatical cases, nominative, accusative, and genitive, the following rules will be explained in future lessons. إضافة structure, how two nouns are linked to show possession. Verbal nouns, masdar, the role of verbal nouns in Arabic sentences. Implied prepositions, why some nouns take the genitive case due to hidden prepositions. Definiteness in إضافة, how the definite article affects nouns in an إضافة structure. Nominal versus verbal sentences, the difference between sentences that begin with a noun versus those that begin with a verb. Keep in mind, in all three phrases, the vowel at the end of rayi, meaning watering, changes depending on the grammatical case of the word. Fatha for the accusative case, raya. Damme for the nominative case, rayu. And kasra for the genitive case, rayi. Third and last function, acting as carriers for the Hamza. In certain cases, Hamza needs a support letter to sit on. Depending on its position in the word, it can be placed on Alif, Waw, or Ya. First, Alif can carry Hamza at the beginning, middle, or end of a word. At the beginning of a word, Hamza must always sit on Alif when it appears at the beginning of a word. For example, Alif Hamza with Fatha vowel, Anf, Anf, meaning nose. Alif Hamza with Dhamma vowel, Udhun, Udhun, meaning ear. Alif Hamza with Kasra vowel, Insan, Insan, meaning human. In the middle of a word, Hamza sits on Alif in the middle when it follows a short vowel. Examples: Alif Hamza with Fatha vowel, Sa'ala, Sa'ala, meaning he asked. Alif Hamza with Dhamma vowel, Ya Ummu, Ya Ummu, meaning he leads in prayer. Alif Hamza with Kasra vowel, Sa'ima, Sa'ima, meaning he was exhausted. At the end of a word, Hamza sits on Alif at the end only when it follows a letter that carries a Fatha vowel. Examples: Bada'a, بدأ, meaning he started. Hamza follows the letter dal, which carries a fatha. قرأ, قرأ, meaning he read. Hamza follows the letter ra, which carries a fatha. لجأ, لجأ, meaning he sought refuge. Hamza follows the letter jim, which carries a fatha. Second, waw carrying Hamza. Keep in mind, at the beginning of a word, waw cannot carry Hamza. Hamza on waw appears only in the middle or at the end of a word. When Hamza appears in the middle or at the end of a word and follows a dhamme vowel, it is usually written on waw. Here are some example words. Hamza in the middle of the word. مؤمن, مؤمن, meaning believer. Hamza follows the letter mim, which carries a dhamme. شؤون, شؤون, meaning affairs. Hamza follows the letter shin, which carries a dhamme. Hamza at the end of the word. لؤلؤ, لؤلؤ, meaning pearl. Hamza appears twice on waw because both are preceded by a dhamme. يجرؤ, يجرؤ, meaning he dares. Hamza is written on waw because it follows the letter ra, which carries a dhamme. Third, ya carrying Hamza. Just like waw, at the beginning of a word, ya cannot carry Hamza. Hamza on ya appears only in the middle or at the end of a word. Keep in mind, when ya carries Hamza, it loses its two dots. Here are examples of Hamza in the middle of a word. ملائكة, ملائكة, meaning angels. بريئة, بريئة, meaning innocent. Here are examples of Hamza at the end of a word. شاطئ, شاطئ, meaning beach. دافئ, دافئ, meaning warm. Please keep in mind, when alif, waw, and ya serve as carriers for Hamza, they do not have a sound of their own. They act only as a seat for Hamza, meaning they are not functioning as regular consonants or as long vowels. In conclusion, if the preceding vowel is a short vowel, Hamza's placement usually follows this pattern. When the vowel is a kasra, Hamza is written on ya. When the vowel is a dhamme, Hamza is written on waw. When the vowel is a fatha, Hamza is written on alif. However, Arabic spelling rules sometimes override this pattern, especially when a long vowel, alif or ya, comes before Hamza. The rules of Hamza placement maybe seem a little complex even for native Arabic speakers. For now, just focus on recognizing the seat of Hamza in words. With time and practice, you will naturally become familiar with Arabic patterns and spelling rules.